Good evening, everybody. Shavua Tov. This came together very, very quickly, and hopefully Jonathan Nachmani will explain a little bit how this came together. When I first learned that we were having Hakham Hayyim Amsalem here, so I realized an interesting parallel. The last time our two congregations had a joint event, it was when we welcomed the somewhat famous Jewish boxer, Yuri Foreman. And I thought to myself, this is amazing. This is הפעם האחרונה שהתקיים אצלנו אירוע משותף בין שני הקהילות, פגשנו את הגרייב יורי פורמן. And obviously we're talking about a different sort of fighter. A fighter for tolerance, a fighter for truth. Obviously this is not physical fighting, but it's with his voice, with his pen. And you see he's fighting a terrible, difficult struggle. I'm sure you all know the position, I spoke a little bit about it this morning, the position of the Rambam on the old question, why does Pharaoh get punished? What criminal act did he violate if he in fact had his heart hardened? And so the Rambam answers that at a certain point things happen that God takes away one's own ability to choose, to make proper decisions. And that the sad thing about it is that a person who's making some poor decisions, or a group that's making poor decisions, so they have to see those, they'll have to ride those conclusions out. They'll have to see the effects of that. And Paro was like that. He saw that there was a devastating reality. He knew that it was in the best interest of Egypt to free the slaves, and at the same time, he was absolutely paralyzed to do anything about it. And there's a certain tragedy in that sort of destruction. When you have a reality, when you have a status quo, that's just absolutely untenable. It can't endure. And when people throughout history have tried to speak out against such a status quo, so obviously they're met with extreme resistance. And I think that's where our speaker finds himself. In that there's a status quo that can't continue, and there are multiple levels of this. Whether it's the attitude with respect to Geirut, or the attitude with respect to being productive members of Israeli society and being autonomous, and from an economical perspective, taking care of oneself and really making that sort of change. So obviously, such a position is going to receive tremendous opposition, but we're thankful for it because such a position is really not such a nuanced position. So, right? Such a position is the old way. He's restoring truth. He's restoring the old Maimonidean positions. That's what he's seeking to do. And obviously, we're grateful to meet him. We support him in his effort. We support him in his fight. And obviously, we're grateful to have him here tonight. I welcome now Jonathan Nachmani, who is very much part of responsible for making this happen.
Thank you, Rabbi Belino, for your kind introduction and for phrasing tonight's event. Rabbi Amsalem was born in Oran, Algeria, to a Moroccan family in 1959. He was elected to the current Knesset session as a member of Shas, but until recently formed his own independent faction. He is married with 8 children and 9 grandchildren, and currently resides in Har Nof in Yerushalayim. He was ordained as a rabbi by the Israeli Chief Rabbinate, and served as rabbi in several municipalities before being appointed as Chief Rabbi in Geneva, Switzerland. During this period, he also published several books on halachic jurisprudence and biblical commentaries, amongst them the Minhat Chaim, a work dealing with the Talmudical interpretations and major commentators, and the Birkat Chaim, a compilation of his own responsa with an emphasis on the positions of Maimonides and the Geonim. As a politician and religious leader, Rabbi Amsalem has worked diligently towards the strengthening of Torah values in Am Yisrael. He has advocated for the support of Israel's peripheral communities, as well as helping the poor among them. He has pioneered the establishment of technical schools in Israel, geared towards educating students in the ultra-Orthodox community who seek to earn an honorable living to together with Torah learning and derech eretz. Earlier this year, Rabbi Amsalem published the magnum opus Zera Yisrael, an intricate and detailed work on the issue of Jewish conversion that calls for a policy of likarev velo le'achik, to bring closer and not push away. It calls for across-the-board leniency on the issue, consistent with the positions of the Talmud and early authorities. Such a policy would allow for the rapid integration of immigrants from the former Soviet Union, many of whom are increasingly look to become part of the Jewish community and society overall. His work has received broad support from all sectors of the Israeli society and is supported by many rabbis both in the Ashkenazi, Sephardi, and certain elements within the Haredi community. Rabbi Amsalem is a courageous leader who has stood up in a time of great silence. He is a source of hope and inspiration. This is what, with great pleasure, I get to introduce to you the Honorable Rabbi Hakham Amsalem.
ערב טוב, שבוע טוב. תודה רבה שבאתם הערב, מוצאי שבת, אחרי שבת, לבוא ולשמוע. יש רגעים בחיים שאדם צריך להחליט האם הוא הולך עם האמת של עצמו, שהוא מאמין בה, וללכת עד הסוף, או בעצם להחליט זה גדול עליי ואני זז הצידה. כפי שג'ונתן אמר, לפני שבאתי לכנסת, הייתי רב הקהילה הספרדית בז'נבה. ושם נחשפתי לבעיות גדולות של העם היהודי. בעיות גדולות של התבוללות, של טרגדיות במשפחות. וכשבאתי לכנסת, הבעיות הללו היו פי כמה וכמה יותר חריפות. מכיוון שבין השנים 97 עד 2008 עלו למדינת ישראל מברית המועצות קרוב למיליון עולים, לפי חוק השבות, שמאפשר למי שהוא צאצא יהודים בין מאבא או בין מאמא לעלות לארץ. מתוך המיליון עולים, קרוב ל-400,000 אינם יהודים על פי ההלכה, מכיוון שאימא שלהם גויה. הם אינם יכולים להתחתן בשום דרך, כי אין בארץ חוק נישואים אזרחיים, כי הם לא יכולים להתחתן ברבנות, כי הם אינם יהודים. הם רוצים להתגייר, אך מערכת בתי הדין והרבנות כמעט סגרה להם את הדלת, הואיל והדרישה הנדרשת היום במדינת ישראל, ולא רק במדינת ישראל, אלא בעקבות מדינת ישראל, יש השפעה מאוד גדולה באירופה וגם פה באמריקה. מי שרוצה להתגייר בגיור כהלכה אורתודוקסית, כמעט זו משימה בלתי אפשרית. האם זו ההלכה? האם כך עשו רבותינו מאז ומעולם? זו השאלה שהעסיקה אותי כשהייתי בז'נבה, וכשבאתי לארץ וראיתי את ההתבוללות באופן מעשי, מפני שאותו הנוער, אותם העולים או הבנים שלהם, מתערים בחברה, לומדים בבית ספר ביחד, בתיכון ביחד, הולכים לצבא ביחד, מכירים, הם כמובן דוברי עברית, מכירים את המסורת שלנו כמעט בצורה מצוינת, ולמעשה מתחברים וחיים ביחד
במצב הזה ללא שום פתרון אמיתי. ושאלתי את עצמי את השאלה, מה יהיה הלאה? אי אפשר להשאיר אנשים שכשהם באו מרוסיה או מאיפה שהם באו, קיללו אותם, השמיצו אותם, השפילו אותם, אמרו להם יהודי מלוכלך, וכשהוא בא לארץ אומרים לו עכשיו אתה נהיית גוי. וכשהוא הולך לצבא הוא גם נהרג למען עם ישראל, ואת זה הציבור איננו מוכן לקבל, איננו מוכן לסבול. זו השאלה שהעסיקה אותי מאוד והטרידה אותי מאוד. מכאן אני התחלתי את הנושא. אני חושב שאולי כדאי לתרגם כדי שיבינו לפי בהתאם.
תודה. The rabbi has begun by speaking. He was formerly a rabbi in Geneva, in the Sephardic community in Geneva, and then sometime later, years later, he became a member of the Knesset. It's almost as if the problems that he saw in the community in Geneva, these problems with conversions that he's talking about right now, they became bigger as he moved into the Knesset. He says the situation is where practically conversions have become an impossible thing. It is a very trying process for the prospect convert to actually go through the complete conversion process. He says, unfortunately, what he found when he became the Knesset member in Israel, what has happened in the last years, 15 years, a little bit more, with the big number of immigrants that came from the former Soviet Union,